Hello, this is Pam Electric Ghost, and do we have Noisecide on?
Yeah, hello man, how's it going? This is Danny Sai from Noisecide.
Oh, great. Are you the only one going to join, or are other members going to join?
Yeah, it's just me.
Okay, that's cool. So, I was looking at your Instagram, and it says you're industrial rock, industrial metal, EBM. So
Yes.
yeah, that's your style, and
Yeah, that's right. That's
and
right.
and you've got your first single on Spotify coming out, um, "Lifeless" tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow we are releasing our first single.
Cool. So
Mhm.
I sent you the questions. So typically, what I'll just introduce, like I'm Fan Electric Ghost. I'm a musician and producer myself. I've had this podcast since 2018. We started with like 3,000 listens. Now we're up to 22,000,
Mm-hmm.
and we're on 11 different platforms, including Spotify. Actually, Anchor is part of Spotify, and
Okay, okay.
and other podcast platforms like Apple, Radio Public, Overcast,
Mm-hmm.
many many more. So I sent you the questions. And so the
Mm-hmm.
first question we get into usually is like, how do you first get into music and at what age?
Well, my first, let's say I was a piano student and when I was 8 years old.
Okay,
So,
you started there. That's a good place to start. I'm a keyboard player myself.
oh, nice. Yeah, it's like I didn't like it too much, like piano, but everybody says that piano is the mother of the instruments. So so I just continued.
Yeah, I guess when you first learn piano, you're learning like classical, you're doing scales. It's not as exciting as if you had like a Gibson or a Les Paul guitar or if you're a drummer.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
But as you get older, you find out about compositions. Like the piano is the key to writing everything.
Exactly, yeah. That was
So
my case. Yeah.
yeah, but once you learn all those chords and all the ability you can have there, and then you get a MIDI controller, and then you get a DAW, or you go like me and you get Moogs, and you get Rolands, and you get Profits, and you start going crazy. Um,
Yeah,
but
that's crazy.
so how long have you been working on music since you got the piano? Did you switch to a different instrument, or did you just stay like with synths or keyboards or DAWs? What did you do?
Well, I always wanted to be like a guitar player, and so electric guitar could be like my main instrument.
Hmm.
So I really enjoyed and the distortion of that's what
That's what
I
you do.
wanted. Yeah, that's what I wanted to become a musician in the first place. But I got into the piano, and then I switched to electric guitar. And then I just wanted to be like a guitar player. So the time goes by, and then I just became like a music producer as well because I really needed to sound cool and well produced. Because
Yeah, yeah.
I used to go to some recording studios, but they just used to mix, and that was it. And so I needed to sound good. So I needed to learn about music production.
So you started. I have some questions about that, but I'll start with the next question. Is so when did you start working on your own music?
My own music, it was do you mean like it
Yeah,
doesn't matter if it
like
is.
writing your own songs. Like when everybody starts as a musician, they you start, you learn, you go to a conservatory or you go for lessons or you play other people's music, but you don't actually write your own until you actually, you start having that feeling that you can write your own. So I'm trying to find out. I always ask all the guests, like, what age did you actually start writing your own music?
Well, I remember my first composition was when I was 9 years old maybe,
Oh,
or
cool.
10 years old. Yeah,
So you started
but
early.
yeah, exactly. It's like it was just an idea, and I was just playing around, and it was cool. So I realized I wanted to be like a composer, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's cool.
Mhm.
So when did you, decide that you actually had a talent for it and you started going deeper into it? Did you keep on going when you were 9, or did you drop it and start again? Like, did you just keep on going from 9 years old?
I think I was more into like be how do you say interpreter.
Hmm.
So I was playing. I used to play Beethoven, Bach,
Okay, cool.
yeah. But then I just came back in the composition after I learned a lot from those composers. So I try to be like them. Yeah, basically.
So when you started getting into the more like hard rock, because your band, as your description is your industrial rock, industrial metal, and EBM. Um,
Uh-huh.
so when did you start taking some of that classical stuff and turning it into rock? Like, when did you start doing that?
Well, that was just in 2013. Yes, I used to listen to industrial metal, but never like I don't know why I then when someday in 2013 I decided I wanted to do industrial metal because you can add electronic
Yeah,
sounds, you can add a lot of things more than just guitar and bass and drums, and also you can play with the voice. Like you can put like robotic
yeah.
voices, or you can add effects to the
Hmm.
voice. So that was really cool for me. So
That's
when
interesting.
yeah, so you produce music and then you say, oh, what I can do all of this is so cool. So
Yeah, so
yeah.
I started, back when I
Mm.
was like 17 as well. I started young, and
Uh-huh.
back in the day, my age, I had a Casio CZ 101.
Okay, yeah,
And
yeah.
then I got a Roland D5, which is like a dumbed down version of a D50. Um,
Uh-huh.
and then now years later, I've got a whole studio, and I've got like a Moog grandmother, I've got Mother 32,
Mm-hmm.
drummer from another mother. I got Rolands, I got Euro racks. So I'm a hardware guy, but I kind of came up with bands like Genesis and Yes,
Mm-hmm.
progressive rockers. They use synths. Um, and so I was really into that, and I
Yeah.
still kind of go that way. And it's just interesting. I use vocoders. I use Roland vocal transformers, like
Okay.
VT3s and VT4s to create characters.
Mm-hmm.
And the lead singer of my band is a female version of myself that I named
Okay.
Josephine Electric that I create from a VT4.
That's cool.
So
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, because so electronic music in general allows
Mm.
you to kind of go anywhere you want,
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
industrial has a harder edge. I mean, I grew up with punk bands like the Sex Pistols and the Clash, and Joy Division,
Mm-hmm.
like the Replacements, who used to do it, like Susie and the Banshees, the Runaways. So I have always had a punk aesthetic, and I
Mm.
appreciate what you're saying with the industrial metal. Kind of has a punk attitude too, like a grunge kind of heavy metal attitude, and that's that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. And Trent Reznor is kind of like the king of that initially, where he
Yeah.
mixed
Mm-hmm.
the ability to take synths and then be very hard edged. Which
Mm-hmm.
synths had this new wave aspect where everybody thought it was like Duran Duran or Flock of Seagulls or synth wave, but you can get really powerful with
Ex-
like with Moogs and Prophets. You could really, you can slam as hard as any punk band if you have that kind of initiative.
Exactly. For me, it was like, I mean, I feel like I am free. I am free, and I can create. Not, I mean,
Yeah,
following the style, but you feel really free to put your ideas there. So it's
yeah, you're
cool.
real open with that. So what kind of digital audio workstation do you use?
I use mostly I use Pro Tools
Pro Tools, okay.
and yeah, and FL
FL
Studio.
Studio, that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you all
Hmm.
use just like MIDI keyboards and plugins, or do you have some like real hardware keyboards?
Just MIDI keyboards and plugins.
That's cool. See,
Yeah.
I'm kind of an old school guy. I kind of, I grew up with like Rolands and
Yeah.
Profits and stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm in my 50s, so I was able to collect them. So I have them.
Okay. That's cool.
So I got them. So it's like, I
Mm-hmm.
understand the plugins because you can have your laptop, you can do everything, but if you ever get your
Mm-hmm.
hands on a Moog,
Yeah. Yeah.
you won't go back.
I get it. The only problem is that maybe it's a little expensive for me.
Oh
But
yeah,
and also you don't have here, like, you cannot just choose and I go to the
like
music store and,
yeah. So where are
and
you? Where are you in the world?
I am in Asunción, Paraguay.
Oh wow,
Paraguay. Yeah.
yeah. So that's the borders. Like I mean, the U.S. Moog's in North Carolina. I mean, I live in New Hampshire, but it's still easier to get to. It's easier to
Okay. Okay.
get
Okay.
a Moog in the U.S. We can get them without shipping prices and stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we can find old ones sitting in like pawn shops and stuff. So,
Mm-hmm. That's
so
cool. Yeah.
I kind of found one of my first Moog. I had a mini Moog back in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and back then people didn't care about it. So you could
Okay.
you could find a mini Moog sitting in a pawn shop for like $300. Now
Okay. Okay.
that same model is like $3,000.
Exactly. Yeah.
But back then people were like, who cares about that? So
Ah.
but I used to go find the old like DX7s and sitting in people get rid of them. Parents didn't know what they were worth. They could get rid of it. Some kids
Ah.
they were in a rock band and then they get rid of it. And I go looking around and you find them. You can find Profit Fives. You can find all kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah. So that's cool. A lot of the bands I talk to use digital audio workstations, and you
Mm-hmm.
just talked about how you use Pro Tools and FL Studio. I actually worked with a musician on a project. They used FL Studio, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar with that. But so like, who are your influences, like in terms of like your genre that you're in now, like the Noisecide band that you have now that's industrial rock, industrial metal, and EBM? Who do you look to as like reference points or other bands in that genre?
So it is, I think, main could be like we don't sound like that. We are like Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, cool. That's what I
The,
thought. I thought you may have that sound because your look is
mm-hmm.
like that.
uh,
Your images on your Instagram kind of project that.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then, but based on what you're saying and your description, it seems like that. Because I actually saw Nine Inch Nails at that Woodstock performance where Green Day with the mud was thrown on them. I was
Mm-hmm.
actually there.
Cool.
Everybody talks about the Green Day performance from that Woodstock, but the Nine Inch Nail performance
Uh,
was unbelievable.
yeah, yeah.
That performance, if you ever seen that video, they were just kicking. They were just, to see them live was like very inspiring, and it got me into doing what I do today.
Mm-hmm.
Because seeing people with keyboards and guitars being
Yeah.
as hard as like Led Zeppelin, or being real powerful, people were like, you don't just sound like Duran Duran. Not that they're a bad band, but
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
with sense kind of get put, oh, you're doing what kind of thing you're doing? You're doing some kind of poppy bubblegum.
Mm-hmm.
And Trent was able to show how powerful you can be. And
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and I really appreciate that, because I think that's, when you have a synth and you go, I've gone to New York and people are like, what are you going to do? And then I come out with my Moog and I start kicking, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of a Marshall amp, and they're like, man, you sound like a guitar. And it's like, well, that's the point.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm always trying to do. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about your new song, because it comes out tomorrow, I don't know how much you want to give away, but on Lifeless, what kind of song is that? Can you talk about it, or you wait for everybody to listen to it tomorrow?
Yeah, I can talk. I can talk about it. It's like it's. Do you mean like
Well, I
in
guess
music?
Nick, maybe talk about what the song's like, subject matter, and then maybe the vibe that people are going to get from it, like how you recorded it, what you were feeling when you record, what you're trying to convey.
I get it. So basically, it's like when you feel kind of empty, and you know that depression, and you feel like you wake up every day, but everything is like lifeless. It's like I don't know how to explain. It's like
Oh, okay. It's kind of
yeah,
like anomie. Like there's a sociological term when I looked
yeah,
into it called anomie. It means it kind of disassociated from society. People would get depression. Kind of
mm-hmm,
from a sociological standpoint, they're kind of affected by this idea of anomie, which is like you're like disconnected from society. You kind of feel like you're not part of anything. You kind of get depressed. You know,
exactly.
yeah. So
And
I can understand
so
that.
in some point it says like, uh, I don't mind if you feel alone, and so I don't remember right now.
Well, it's
But,
coming. I'm actually gonna put the link on
mm-hmm,
this podcast when that song comes out tomorrow.
mm-hmm,
Because we're connected to Spotify, one cool thing we can do, what we do for all of our artists, we can actually embed a Spotify link onto the podcast.
mm-hmm,
And when people click on this podcast, they can also click on that single,
mm-hmm.
and it'll go right to Spotify, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
cool, cool.
so that won't happen until it's up. So maybe when it shows up later tomorrow, I'll add it. So I can continually update the podcast to have
Mm-hmm.
additional links at any time, and it will get propagated through all the websites that we're on, all the podcasts we're on.
Oh,
So
that's cool. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so we're gonna put, from what I can see, I've got a couple of links for you. I've got your Instagram link, and I've got your show.com link. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll put that on.
Okay.
And yeah, if you've got any like music videos or anything you're gonna put on later, we can put that up.
Yeah, actually, tomorrow we're going to release the video clip as well. So I got into video music production, but I I don't know. I think I did it well, but
Well, that's
people
cool. So is it going to be
uh,
on YouTube or is it going to be just on Instagram?
and on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So when
Mm-hmm.
I see that, if you send me the link,
Mm-hmm.
I can put it on the show. I can put it on the podcast too.
Ah, okay, okay, cool.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So we were talking about how you use your DAW. So you totally use the DAW. You don't go to a recording studio. You do everything in the DAW.
I record the bass and I record the guitars, so
Yeah.
and the voice,
Cool.
and I program the drums. Yeah.
So you don't end up bringing it to a full recording studio. Everything within like Pro Tools.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Do you do the whole production in Pro Tools, or do you do some production in Pro Tools and then give it to a producer, or you just totally produce it yourself?
Yeah, I totally produce it myself.
That's cool.
Everything was it. Yeah.
Yeah, even the master, you do the master, you send the master.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mix and mastering as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I do that as well. Because I've got the hardware. Over time, I've done that. But so when you play your shows, do you play locally or do you play within your region? Where do you actually play?
So right now we are just playing here locally because we are kind of new. Like we have like half years. I mean,
Cool.
we started in July 2019. So
Are you planning on trying to get into festival gigs or go beyond your area?
yeah, for sure. That's a
Cool.
goal for sure. Yeah.
So when have you thought about collaborating with other artists? Like today, a lot of artists in multiple genres will collaborate with like hip hop artists, or they'll collaborate with jazz artists, or they'll collaborate with rockers or pop stars. Have you just decided that you want to concentrate on your particular own music, or do you want to work with other artists?
Yeah, we are open to work with other artists as far as we like, and I don't know if we have like a chemistry with the artists. So
Mm-hmm.
we are open to that. Why not? But maybe
Yeah,
in the future. Yeah.
yeah,
Why
and
not?
we've seen that because I actually involved in a bunch of collaborations going into 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be working with some folks in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with some folks in some other countries on some cool projects.
No, that cool.
Yeah, so it's like, and some of them are, some of them are in the same kind of like dark wave synth pop that I'm in, and some of them are doing other stuff. They're more I actually worked with a hip hop person one time. I did a record with a couple hip hop guys.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with a rock band in New York City, and I worked with an actress that was like
Cool.
an EBM. She was FL Studio. We put out a record,
Mm-hmm.
And she was an actress. She actually that's her day gig, and she's actually like an actor that shows up on movies
Mm-hmm.
as like character like a stand-in kind of like not main billing, but she's on in the Actors Guild and she does movies
Mm-hmm.
and voiceovers and stuff. But she really want to be a musician, but
Mm-hmm.
acting is her day job.
Ah, okay. Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
get it. I get it. Uh-huh.
yeah. So I like to collaborate with all kinds of people, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
always ask people about that just to see what they're doing. So what do you think about like the whole scene now with DJs and hip hop artists that don't have bands? They come out with like a CDJ, and that's the vibe, and they're not actually playing guitar or keyboard or bass or drums. What's
Mm.
your opinion about that compared to like live musicians? Like, do you have any thoughts on the direction of the music that way?
Yeah, and my opinion about that is that and DJs are like they produce their music in their home, so they in live they go and just maybe put I mean they do the mix with their own songs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So the art there is like know how to put song after song and how to do the transitions between the songs and how to you entertain people, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's
Well,
more
yeah,
like it's more a show than
yeah,
play an instrument. But I'm cool with that. I mean, I don't
yeah.
know.
It's part of electronic music, but one of the things that kind of happens to me is like I'm an old school musician, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people get confused because I say I'm an electronic musician and they think I'm a DJ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
And
get
then
it.
I'm
I get
like,
it.
no, like I have road cases. I,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
have I have
Mm-hmm.
roadies, I have guys, like drummers, I've got guitar players. So it's like, so I'm just not showing up with a CDJ. It takes me 30 minutes for a sound check because it's like
Exactly.
I'm a real band. Not to put it down,
Ex-
but I don't just come with a little suitcase. I come with like a bunch of road cases and a roadies.
exactly. Yeah. I
So it's a
think.
different experience. So I just like I understand what they do and they are musicians. It's just they're a
Mm-hmm.
different type of musician.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the industry just changed because, as you said, it's like more easy. I mean, it's easier to put a CDJ and then just go to the mix, and that sounds good already. So if you are a band, you have to, how do you say, hire the roadie, hire the band itself.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
have a lot of more scene. You have to mix, and everything has to sound like really good. So I mean, like in cost
yeah.
of
It's harder.
production, in cost of production is like more. So I think that's why maybe DJs go and went into that. Like it is like cheaper to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, it's a lot easier. When I go to New
Hmm.
York, I mean, I have to go get a van and get a roadie. I got
Mm-hmm.
to do a setup. I got all this equipment. I got to watch to make sure people don't steal it.
Yeah.
So, it's just a lot of overhead, and it's a lot harder
Mm-hmm.
than in some ways because I'm playing a live show. We have to practice. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to be in tune. You've got to, yeah, it's a different thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
understand it's easier to go there and you do play with your CDJ and you have controllers and stuff. You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, as an electronic musician,
Mm-hmm.
now I've got sequencers. And I'm a kind of old school. I've got analog and digital sequencers.
Mm-hmm.
I've got foot pedals, but I've got a big stack of keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually play them.
Yeah.
So I've got my drum machines and I can kick them off and I can do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm actually playing, live. And
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I get
and
it.
so a lot of
Mm-hmm.
bands I've talked to bands that actually have like MIDI controllers, and to be able to do their song that's on Spotify, they've
Mm-hmm.
got a bunch of tracks that are already in the MIDI,
Mm-hmm.
already on their controllers, and running through their sequences. But they mute a couple tracks and they play the guitar live, and they
Mm-hmm.
play the bass live, and they play the drums live. So when you play, because you did everything in the DAW, do you do it like that? Do you have tracks that you mute and then play stuff live?
Exactly. Yeah, we do like that because we are bass and guitar and drummer, and I sing. So we put the backtrack, and yeah, we mute something like we try to do like, so we don't have the keyboardist, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So basically that goes into the backtrack. and
Oh, so you
we
just have it running through off your computer, off your DAW. You just run it through like main stage or something.
exactly, and
Yeah,
then everything else is live. I mean, we play live, and the arrange and everything like and synthesizers, and is like playback, but nothing else, just that. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
Hmm.
because that's like in my band, everything, all the keyboards are live.
Ah, that's cool. Yeah, that would
Because
be
like
really cool. Yeah,
that's
but.
everything I'm doing. Because I mean, I kind of grew up with bands like Yes
Hmm.
and like Parliament Funkadelic and Genesis, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So I grew up
Hmm.
watching guys like that. And I
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
saw like Nine Inch Nails, and I saw Trent like on his Mini Moog,
yeah. Hmm.
on his Prophet 5, on his Jupiter. And I've been always that guy that's like, oh, I want to get that Jupiter 8. I,
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I want to have that Prophet 5. I want to have that Oberheim,
Hmm.
the Mini Moog or a Hammond B3. I'm kind of like, I'm a keyboardist. So I want to be on a Hammond B3.
Yeah,
I want I want to be on a Yamaha piano. That's kind of like my thing. Um,
for
but
sure, for sure.
yeah, a
Hmm.
lot of people today you don't have to, but like I try to tell the kids, like guys I work with, is like if you get yourself, it's like a guitar player. You want to be on your Fender, you want to be on your Stratocaster, you want to be on your Les Paul.
Hmm.
If you're a keyboardist, you want to be on your Hammond B3. You
Yeah.
want to have your Mini Moog, you want your Yamaha DX7.
Hmm.
That's kind of like it's the same thing, and it's like I try to tell you, boy, you can just do that on the soft sync. Like, yeah, you can, but it's nothing like a Hammond B3 for real. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
there's nothing
exactly.
like a real Yamaha piano. It's
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
that's just what it is. But so when you think about the future of music,
Hmm.
um, like where you're going is kind of like where things are going. I've seen a lot of new bands
Hmm.
kind of doing this kind of hybrid metal that's bringing like kind of what Trent was doing.
Hmm.
There's a lot of new bands going that way. There's a lot, even hip hop people are introducing jazz and metal and stuff into their music.
Hmm.
So, do you think the future of music is more kind of cross genre? That people not just staying in one genre, they're kind of crossing.
I really think that's a direction because everything is like grossing right now. I mean, it is starting to do. I mean, maybe a few years ago it started because
Yeah,
yes, everything is grossing because music is like something universal, right? So
yeah,
I think in some point everything is gonna mix and mix more and so
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's
It
in.
seems like country music has shifted into like pop music
Mm-hmm.
and become less like folk. And
Exactly. Yeah.
then like hip hop bands have actually come out and then they have full bands behind them. I've
Uh-huh.
seen
Uh-huh.
American like rap bands sometimes now have guitar players and drummers and horn sections,
Mm-hmm.
so they have full bands.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I went to New York and I saw this hip hop band. It was like had a jazz band backing them up,
Oh,
and they were
cool.
they were
Mm-hmm.
doing like Coltrane type of jazz
Mm-hmm.
with like beat poetry.
Oh,
And I said, well,
nice. Mm-hmm.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Because I'm into Coltrane and Sun Ra and like Miles, and I'm like, yes. And I was just sitting there, like, yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But um, so what do you think about streaming services like Spotify compared to like I grew up with like physical albums.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go to the record store and pick up vinyl. I
Yeah.
picked up Purple Rain when
Mm-hmm.
it came out on vinyl,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I played it on the record player.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the one thing back then that I would say is that when you bought a record,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of listened to the whole album.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
that's the kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing I grew up listening to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see now today people just pick tracks here and there. But
Eh,
when I grew up, I would go and listen to the whole Purple Rain album. I would listen to the whole Yes album. Just because when I bought it, that's how I had to listen to it. If you put it on a record player, you might as well listen to the whole thing.
yeah. So I basically was the same, but with compact disc, right? With CD.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to listen to all the whole album. I think people don't listen to a whole album. Maybe not too much people because they have like too many options today,
Yeah.
and they have the streaming service, so they go just into a playlist and they find like a lot of good bands. So how do you
Yeah,
have like a ton of time to listen to all the bands? I don't know. It's like you
yeah.
just.
I kind of feel sad for that because there was a whole thing kind of goes back to the Beatles, right?
Mm-hmm.
To Sergeant Pepper, the whole idea, and it kind of seems like we've kind of done something in music history that's kind of like going backwards because before the
Mm-hmm.
Beatles,
Mm-hmm.
the world was a singles world.
Yeah.
Everybody bought 45s and 78s, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
go back to the Motown era, right? The Motown era,
Mm-hmm.
almost all those bands, all they did is do singles and 78s all the time.
Ah,
They
okay.
hardly, and then the albums would eventually get put together from the singles and 78s.
Ah,
But they would
okay.
keep putting them out like every week, every other week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like the way the world is with Spotify. And then
Yeah.
what happened was like the Beatles came up with this idea that you're going to build a concept that's actually worth listening to the whole record. And that was like
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant Pepper, and then that caused all these other bands to make their Sergeant Pepper. So you
Mm-hmm.
had the Beach Boys did Pet Sounds, you had all these other bands like the Who and stuff doing Tommy, where rock operas, and Genesis doing progressive rock. So you had like this thing where a Pink Floyd album, The Wall, you're supposed to listen to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. I
You
get
know,
it. I get it.
yeah, you know what I mean. So the weird thing is that hip hop bands,
Mm-hmm.
their fans will listen to the whole project.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of hip hop bands that have concepts that people are kind of drawn into listening to the whole record. But it seems like in pop music and other genres, people are more into the singles. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's going to come around as you get bands that create the music is just so powerful that you have to listen to the whole thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of depends on like if you can get that vibe, and you have to also think about the visuals.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're a guy like a Freddie Mercury from Queen,
Mm-hmm.
or like a Prince, or you're like a Lady Gaga, you have such a presence that people end up using your stage presence that kind of drives them to listen to the whole project.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you have to, like, as an artist, the musician is first, it comes crafting the songs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in order to your presentation is half of it. If you can do a presentation that captures your audience
Exactly. Yeah.
imagination, then you can probably get them to listen to the whole project. But you've got
Mm-hmm.
to do more than just the music. It's kind of like
Exactly.
the whole package.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that will come back around as you get artists that are more visual.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have visual projects that force you to listen to watch the video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The video might have like 5 songs in it, but they're all strung together.
Mm-hmm.
And you have an idea, and your audience kind of, in order to get the idea, they got to watch the whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
the kind of trick now, or the pitch, is to put together your songs to kind of do that, to draw your audience in. And I think when you see bands do that, they become successful. They're going to get more and more bands doing it. But
Mm-hmm.
we are kind of in the 1950s again.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's great to have you on, and I think Noisecide, we're going to hear your new single tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
Lifeless, and it's going to be on it's going to be on Spotify. Is it going to be on other platforms?
Yeah, and on this Apple Music and
Cool. So it'll be on all the platforms everybody's like used to, and you should go out and listen to it. We're going to have the hyperlink to Spotify here, and
mm-hmm.
we're going to publish this tonight. We won't have that Spotify until tomorrow, but be in tune for it, and as soon as you guys have more material, if
Mm-hmm.
you checked out our podcast, we've had bands on multiple times to talk about their projects.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
as you get more material or new projects, you can let us know, and we'll have you come on again.
Okay, so I'm really thankful. Sorry, thankful with you. So
But
I
yeah, that's
really.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
we like to break new artists, and this is cool. We're actually breaking you before you're single, so this is the first for us. We've had some bands on that had a pre-album release, but we've talked to them before. But this is the first band we are talking to where this is your first release, so this is really cool. So thank
okay,
you very
okay.
much for letting us do that for you. And we had Danaside from Noisecide, and good luck to you. And we hope to hear from you again.
Okay, so thank you so much for this space and best wishes.
Okay, we'll send you the links to the Instagram as they get published.
Okay.
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 Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.